start with.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. We've got Luke Swain here for our second ever podcast for the Rugby Pro Academy. Swain Dog, how are we?
Good, mate. Good runes. How are you, bud?
Mate, very good. And I met Swainy, 3 weeks ago for our 20-year anniversary. So, mate, it was great to see you then. It's been way too long, but it was like no times had passed when I seen you.
How good was it? How good? Yeah, the crew all around. We had a lot of local juniors in that team, so it's good to catch up with everyone again. And we're all a bit fatter and a bit grayer, a bit balder, but that's okay. We had a good time.
Mate, it's all good, mate. All good, mate. Thanks for joining us today. I just want to ask you just a few questions, just about where you come from, how you became a pro rugby league player here in Australia and overseas, and then we'll go through some of your injuries and that, and just kind of your journey to where you are now. So,
Yeah, cool.
Mate, first off, just tell me where you're brought up and where you kind of your first team was, and just at first when you kind of discovered rugby league.
Yeah, I was a bit of a late starter, I suppose. I didn't play till the under-13s. It was my first year of rugby league. I played a bit of soccer and a bit of cricket before then. But yeah, mate, down the road got me in the league, and they stuck me on the wing and had a year with the Blacktown Workers, which is in Western Sydney.
I thought you were at St Mary's. Interesting.
No, that's on the Wikipedia page, but I only actually played there for one season. But started off with Blacktown Workers, and I was a winger who didn't catch a ball very often or make many tackles. And then my second year, I moved across with some of my other mates and I played for the Westbound Druitt Raiders, who no longer exist. A few of the teams out there don't last very long, but we played a couple of years out there with the Westbound Druitt Raiders, and I was a front rower there, so we had the smallest team in the comp, as you could imagine. So a bit of a baptism of fire out there in the front row. And then I played a year at St Mary's, 16s I think it was. 16 years, was a year at St Mary's.
Was it always rugby league, or did you do other sports like soccer and stuff like that, or was it just kind of that's all you did there?
Yeah, but once I joined rugby league in under-13s, as I said, I started with soccer, sixes up until 13s, and then a bit of cricket. I always kept my cricket going whilst I played rugby league in the winter, cricket in the summer. Played till 16s. Under 16s, I suppose we'll get to my first injury that I've had a few, but I had stress fractures in my back from playing cricket. Tried to be a fast bowler, running in really fast. The ball didn't come out very fast, but I ran in really hard. Stress fractures in my back, which I know you know a little bit about as well. And so lower back stress fractures. I actually missed 2 seasons of sport after that. I saw the same doctor. I saw a doctor, I think you know as well, Dr. Charles New, who originally, I don't want to name and shame or anything like that, but his advice to me was, "Oh, mate, you're a little bit skinny, you're a little bit small. That'll be you done. I don't think rugby league's for you, buddy." And that was his opinion at the time, and that's what it was. So that was pretty devastating, and I took that at face value when I was 16 years old. So I spent the first maybe 3 or 4 months just kicking stones and walking around and having a hard time at school and thinking, oh well, that's sport over. And that was everything I'd sort of thought. That was my personality, that was my identity when I was 16. I loved sport, whether it was cricket or rugby league. I jumped into that wholeheartedly and thought I'd give it my best shot. So that was a tough couple of years, 16, 17, yeah.
Mate, it's tough, and especially for 2 years when you're that young, and then you're thinking, it's unbelievable. And it's funny you say that because we've spoke about it before, but he said the same thing to me. He said, I had a stress fracture as well, and I wasn't out for two seasons. I had a brace around for about 4 or 5 months. I think I had it on. I was a bit younger than you. I was about 13. And the same doctor said the same. It's like, hey, you're too skinny to play rugby. I used to eat kids like you for breakfast. And I'm like, far out. And it's just like, how do a guy like that speak to kids, like that, who have dreams of actually and having fun playing the sport? Anyway, I didn't really think I was going to make grade, but just wanted to play the sport. And would have been quite funny for him seeing us go out and play for Penrith after that.
Well, I played for Penrith. I think you went a bit further than that, which is, probably a bit more egg in his face. But yeah, not to name and shame. And I suppose that's his opinion, and that was his medical opinion. As I said, about 4 months later, though, I had a school coach say to me, "Go and see this other coach." And he was a rugby coach, so he coached a lot of. He was a rugby orthopedic specialist. You know, he'd seen a lot more rugby players, rugby union, and he sort of had a look at scans and went, "Oh, mate, you know, there's thousands of people running around with this type of injury, and as long as you get in there and you train really hard." I think that was the key. Those words that he said to me, he said, "If you get in there and train really hard and get really strong," he said, you'll be fine, mate. So jump in there." And that was after eventually probably 12 months of wearing a brace, as you did, big fiberglass brace molded to your body with Velcro straps on it and things like that. And, you know, and the embarrassment of that, and just the thinking that you're finished, and going through the rehab process. But that really sort of kicked the rehab process off. You know, it was a bit later on, and as I said, I actually missed 2 seasons of sport, so it took a little while to get back. But I think those moments, those few months at the start of the rehab, had a really good physio there in Penrith, Tony Larvin. Did you remember back in the day?
Yeah,
so
yes.
He was a great guy. He was a tiny little, skinny little guy, but just such a big heart, and gave us great sort of inspiration really to rehab an injury and get in there. And that's when it started, mate. That's when I think my training ethic was sort of built in those days, just slugging it out in the gym by yourself a little bit, just trying to get a start again.
And how were you when you came back from the injury?
Well, mate, I actually had a bit of a step back. First game back, I actually fractured it again, to be honest. I had a bit of a check. Because you're out of the system, I suppose. You're out of the junior rep system, and you're sort of doing it by yourself a little bit. I came back that little bit too early, and hurt myself again first game back, which sort of set me back for another 6 months. So I played 1 game in 2 seasons to correct myself before. But so had that 1 season. Had these couple of seasons off. Built myself right back up again, and I was lucky. I think I put on a bit more weight. I rehabbed a bit smarter the second time. And was able to come back when I think I was like a under 19s sort of age. Couldn't get again. I'm banging on a bit here, mate. So stop me if I'm droning on a bit. But
no, that's
with me story,
that's fine. So what happened there with as soon as you got into under 9? How did you get back into the Penrith kind of rep scene?
Yeah, well, that was a tough one as well, I suppose, because I gave them a call after a couple of years, and hey, remember me sort of story. And there was no spots left in the Jersey Flags. I think that was under 19s at the time. There was no spots left for there in the squad, so I missed that, and I had to go train with the men, which I think is another really good thing that happened to me. I went and trained for it was a Metro Cup side. That was the competition at the time, and that was with the Kellyville Bushrangers. So a mate of mine from back in the day took me out there, and I trained with the men for an off season. I did November, December, January with the men, and was prepping to play the Metro Cup against men. And I think that was really good. That pre-season really sort of steeled me that little bit. But I was lucky enough that actually during the trial period, the under 19s at the Panthers, the Jersey Flag team, had a few injuries and needed some players, so I actually got the call up right at the end of the last trial for the Jersey Flag side under 19s for the Rugby League in Penrith.
Mate, it's unreal the story, isn't it? How things just change. You make a phone call, and you're back in the mix again. And it's funny you say that. Yeah, exactly. Just it's not much difference. You could have maybe not made that phone call, and things wouldn't have planned out or stuff like that. But mate, it's great story. And then what went on from there? How did you kind of get push into that, that first grade squad?
Mate, so I suppose, from the under 20s, just had a pretty good season. I think, as I said, I'd had some good training behind me. I trained enough, and that pre-season with the men, I think, was a really good thing, because you get bashed around a little bit as a 19-year-old and, showing the ropes, and it steals you that little bit. So I feel like it was good for me, and I had a pretty good season in the Jersey Flag, and I played a couple of games under John Cartwright in the reserve grade towards the end of the season.
Yeah, Carty. Yeah, Jesus, some names flying about. He's still around, isn't he? He's going well.
Yeah. He was a man. He was great for me then, and gave me some good inspiration, some good tips. And that 3 or 4 games I played in reserve grade, 2001, I think it was, really good for me. And it led me to 2002, where I played the whole season in reserve grade there in the New South Wales Cup, I think it was. And then 2003, I was lucky enough to get my start in round 4 in the first grade.
Against the Raiders?
2003, sorry. Round 4,
It was round against the Raiders. And how was that, right, mate? Yeah. Do you remember getting the call? What happened? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do. I think I sort of knew throughout the week. We had one of the players, Ben Rorty, who was a great, solid sort of first grader there.
Who's
He
down in
got the
Melbourne's now, isn't he? Yeah.
yeah.
Down
No,
here,
mate,
yeah.
he got the opportunity to go to the Super League, in the English Super League. I think he had a really good deal to go there, so that left a little bit of a lack of depth in the back row. So a skinny little redhead weighed about 87 kilos. I think it got the call up to sit on the bench against Canberra Raiders in round 4. So yeah, and I remember that game too. We were winning 26-6, I think it was, when I got on the field after about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I only played about 15 minutes. It was all too fast for me, sort of thing. And we ended up getting beat. We got beat on the bell. I'll never forget. And after the game, I remember Scott Sattler came up to me and he said, mate, take that smile off your face. I know you just don't boo, but we've actually lost. You've got to pretend that you're really upset. But I just stayed booed, and I thought I was beaming ear to ear. So I had to try and control that emotion. But
mate,
yeah.
That's unreal though, Satsy. Great bloke. And then, mate, what about the year of 2003? Your first year playing, and then it was, I suppose, like a whirlwind. Just kept snowballing.
Of course it was. Well, yeah, we went on a really good run, didn't we? I think we broke the record at the time for the most consecutive wins for the Panthers.
Yep.
13 or 14, I think it was. It was something like that. We had a great run, and I sat on the bench and came on and played my part. When Big Joe Nullavow was in the back row, and Tony Portel, when those guys needed a bit of a spell, I'd come on and throw my 87 kilos around. Like I said, I was probably about 92 kilos by then, and we had a great run, mate, and I was really lucky. I think looking back, we didn't have many injuries, did we? We had a pretty good year with injuries when he went through about 28 or 29 players or something like that.
And I think you have to get a bit lucky like that to win a GF, don't you? You get those lucky breaks, but I think I always look back. I'm not sure about you, but just the everyone was so enthusiastic. I mean, I remember going with you, Louis, and people like we're down there, 40 minutes before the session started. We're always doing the extras. And I just thought that season, everyone was just really onto it, loving their rugby and just training so hard and enjoying it. And I suppose it just kept blossoming.
Yeah. I think we had a good dynamic of players. Well, not everyone was best mates. It's not like everybody hung out every weekend, every moment they could, and everyone had little friend groups and stuff, but there wasn't any cliques. There wasn't any, well, not that I saw anyway, as a young guy coming through. It didn't seem like to be any animosity. It seemed like it was all pretty positive, as you said. People really keen to train, giving everything at training. There's no holding back at training either, especially Mark Lang running the front row straight at people. That was he was always listening to intensity.
He only had one gear, and that's just go.
Yeah, he ran at faces, not spaces. He'd get the ball and run straight at you. So, and as a skinny little back rower coming in the first grade, you're hanging on for dear life. So, but that was good. That's the big league's all about. And we just had a dream run, didn't we? Treated it like underdogs the whole way through. Won the minor premiership, won the grand final, sort of thing. So,
and we're saying underdogs because I remember before the grand final they were saying it's going to be because the Roosters won the year before, and then they're already talking about they're going to win 3 in a row. They didn't even win that second one yet. Did you always feel like we were going to win that GF?
Oh, mate, I can't remember. I remember we played the Roosters, I think it might have been second last round of the year, and they gave us an absolute touch-up.
I remember
at home on a Sunday afternoon, yeah. And I remember Brad Fittler absolutely ran amok, and I thought to myself, this is a masterclass, and these guys are the next level, and this is going to be because we hadn't played them until the start of since the start of the season, round 3. I didn't play that game.
Yeah. I do because I think we did win the first one. It was a bit of a shock win. And I do remember that game. I think it was a Sunday Arvo at Penrith, and it was, they touched us up. And it's probably good for us,
Oh, yeah. Put the fear of God in us again, I think, because it was such a good run for so long. But, no, I remember that, mate. So I was just optimistic, I suppose. Like I said, I probably hadn't wiped the smile off my face from debuting in round 4. I just
and then getting the cloud. Yes.
Yeah. So
unbelievable first year, mate.
Yeah, well, mate, and to be honest, looking back, I didn't play another first grade final game in my career. And I played about 7 years after. Yeah, so it's 2004 I got hurt when we were in the finals. We made the major semi. 5 and 6, we didn't make it. I went to the Gold Coast, 7, 8. We didn't. We just missed the 8 both times. We missed by 1 game both times. And then in Super League, I had a couple of years over there and still didn't make it. So, yeah, that was the last final I played. I remember Ryan Girdler. He was in his 13th season, I think, when we won.
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, boys, you young fellas, you'll never appreciate how good this is." And I remember popping up, mate. Yeah, right, mate. Yeah, I get it.
And it's how true it was, though. You know, it's me.
Yeah, well, yeah.
We played the season after, and then I don't think I played another semi-final ever. Yeah, so it's really unbelievable how it works, and you could that shows you how much you have to kind of take that opportunity when it comes.
Exactly right, and appreciate the moment, yeah.
And appreciate the moment and put everything you got into it. Mate, and the 2004 season was quite a tough season for you. Just tell us about that with the big injury as well.
Yeah, I had a couple of good injuries. Bit of a so I got tackled and I broke my upper jaw, so my maxilla. Friday night footy, copped a good arm on, you know, as I was going down in a tackle and lost 3 teeth, and my mates never give me a hard time. Always give me a hard time, sorry, because it's like Tic Tacs were coming out. Like it was a really just I had a money shot. I had a mouth guard in and all that sort of stuff, and still lost the choppers, which was pretty unbelievable.
I remember that.
Yeah, so that yeah. So I couldn't play for a few weeks after that. I had to have a bit of a wire put in and that sort of stuff. So that wasn't a good start. And then 2004 was the year I had an off-field injury, which is a shame. Just as a young bloke mucking around with my mates after a game, all having a laugh, having a wrestle, and I actually dislocated my neck, which is a big injury. Yeah. And a scary one, you know, because I couldn't feel nipples down for about 5-10 minutes when it first happened. Which is a really scary thing. Yeah, it was one of those things. Played the Saturday night down at Shark Park. Played a game. I think we won. Had a pretty good night, and then on a night out, mucking around with your mates, which I'd done every other weekend before then.
It's one of those things.
Mate. Touch wood, I got away with it. You know, like luckily nerve damage wasn't too bad, and I had to have a fusion, so I had my neck fused, C6 and C7 fused, and so that was in June. So probably halfway through the season. And so I missed the rest of that season and came back for the first trial of the next year, so 2005. So good 7-8 months off. Yeah.
And how did you feel after that fusion coming back? Were you a bit tentative going into the game, or you were fine?
Mate, I think I'd done the rehab. It was one of those things where, you know what, I think I sort of took the lessons I'd learned as a kid, you know, with my lower back, in just making sure that you rehab properly, making sure you tick the boxes, don't make any assumptions on where you're going to be or how quickly it should go. Just play it as it comes, go through the process. And I think I really just sort of tapped back into that sort of mode. It's just had to go back there. And with nerve damage, you don't know what the recovery is going to be like, so you've just got to play it by ear, do what you can do. And I sort of worked around the issues. I was never as strong again, but in certain things in the gym and stuff like that. But found ways to work around that, I suppose, and just do the rehab that I need to do.
Okay. No, mate, amazing comeback, honestly, from all that, especially coming from back injury. I know it's different. It was up the top, but yeah, when you have a few back injuries, you're like always wondering. You're like, oh, shivers. Now, how am I going to be fine in that? And you're like, just that little voice in the back of your head. But mate,
right.
It's tough. But how'd you go in the Titans when you moved over to the Titans? How was that? Like culturally, did you enjoy it? And what was the difference between Penrith and the Titans?
Yeah, mate. Well, it was a big change. John Cartwright was the inaugural coach there at the Titans. He was my reserve grade coach from back in the day, and so I was up there. Scott Sattler was the football manager there, who we played with at the Panthers. Mate, good culture change. It was good for me to see a different culture. I think it made me appreciate how special the 03 team was. In that good young local juniors were really working together and training their house down. Gold Coast was really good. Like it was good because it was a melting pot of different players from different clubs coming together. Because it was the first year in the competition. So that was really good. And to having to try and form those relationships and build those bonds not from scratch, but from a starting again sort of point, I suppose.
Yeah.
Or these guys come in with lots of different individuals' experiences and different clubs that they've been at, but to build that club culture is a process, and it's something you really got to work hard on, and it's not something that just comes about. And as I said, that made me realise just how good that Penrith juniors coming through sort of culture is, and it sort of seems reflective of how they're doing now, because they've got young guys coming through at the moment, the last few years, and they're on fire.
It's unbelievable. They are on fire. And we'll get to that a bit later, just about, because I know you were coaching a lot in St. Mary's, and I'd like to have a few questions of what you're doing there as well. But we'll go from there, and then to England, mate. Tell me about your trips to England, and then to Carcassonne in France, and down in Perpignan as well.
Yeah, mate. So I got the opportunity to go to play with the Salford Reds over there in the English Super League. Something I always wanted to do. Always wanted to play overseas and travel a little bit, with let rugby take me around. So did that. Took that opportunity. We were one of the lower teams, I suppose. We were never going to.
They were quite new then, was it, though?
No, older club, mate. But it's sort of with the relegation, it's up and down sort of thing. So first year back in the Super League after a few years, had a good experience. It was really good, to go there. I was a bit older, so a bit of a senior player, I suppose, and see a different way of life and a different way of playing rugby and attitude towards it. So it was good, and different climate, especially middle of Manchester winter. I landed on the darkest, coldest day in Manchester's been in years. I think, mate, it was like unbelievable. But where am I? What am I doing? Mate?
What am I doing? Yes, especially Penrith's usually pretty good. It's pretty warm. It does get cold, but it's usually pretty good. How was that, mate, with the weather? Because it's so different. If you go somewhere where it's cold, between especially Gold Coast, you know what I mean? It's like chalk and cheese. Like getting up every day when it's freezing, the pitch is ice. It gets dark about 4 in the arvo. How'd you go with that?
Oh, it took some adjusting, I think, but I think I was pretty lucky. I lived in a good spot. We had the all-weather, all-purpose field just across the road from where I lived, from the complex I was at. So, and we got the ground froze over a fair bit in the pre-season, so we get the chance to train just across the road from home, and it was pretty good. I had a young son and a wife over there at the time, and they were having a good time just exploring England and doing a bit of travelling and catching up with all the other Australians and New Zealanders that were over there. So we had a good little team and good atmosphere, and I think it was a good experience. Whilst we didn't have heaps of success on the field, I think we finished 12th. I think we finished 12th both years we were there. But we had a good time. And then and on the way home decided to stop in your neck of the woods over there in France.
In France, mate. And mate, just before we head on to France, what was the big difference you find between the NRL and the Super League over there?
Well, I can only speak with the experience I had, I suppose. When I was over there, not all the Super League teams can pay the salary cap, for example. They don't have the same funds that they're in the Super League. So, Leeds and St Helens and these great teams, and Wigan would have, a team full of superstars and a really good, strong team. And, team like Salford at the time, when I was there, didn't have the money, and, we didn't even pay to the salary cap. So we had young guys, training full-time on a wing and a prayer, I suppose, just scratching out a living and doing that. But I suppose that steals you, and that's the experience, and that's the the difference, I suppose, and a bit of fun, really. I thought it was a really good challenge, and just
what a great opportunity.
Exactly. Like a boy from Western Sydney sort of thing, like to get over there.
Mate, who would have thought? That's the thing. Like when I was thinking, if someone said you can go over and play overseas just to play rugby, you're like, oh, without a doubt. It's just like, unbelievable. And it's so good for younger kids now because there's so much more opportunities than back where we were. Like, even if you say you want to go play league down in France or somewhere, there's a lot of clubs down there. It's beautiful. You can have a great time down there and be there for ages. I know people have been over there and they've just stayed over there. They haven't come back.
Come back.
But from that, mate, how was France? And tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, that was great. So they obviously they play in the winter over there. So you play summer rugby in the Super League, and then I think it was the next weekend after we'd finished the Super League. It was the next weekend the French competition had started. That one
Oh,
in the
started.
Elite
Okay.
One. Yeah, the Rugby League is the Elite One in the French competition. So I went there really just to get that experience of living somewhere else and playing in a different competition, and really just looking to enjoy my time over there. And yeah, so I played one season. I only ever had the intention of playing one season for the Carcassonne Canaries on the way home,
Yes.
and then off we go. But had that one season. I think we made the first semi-final and bundled out, but just had such a good time. We stayed for another, and
Yep.
lucky enough, yeah, got a few other Australians over in the next year. So guys like Russell Aiken,
Yeah. Yep.
Stu Reardon. Stu Reardon had
Ah,
played for
yes.
England
Yes.
in the Super League.
Wow.
Yeah, so
I didn't know you
yeah,
had him
so we
over
had
there.
that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We were over there. We had a great season, and we won both competitions over there, and had a good time of it. Like it was really good. The club really got behind us, and I
Yep.
remember they hired out, or they rented out an old car parking space that was in the city,
Yeah.
in the whole part of town. And I think that we threw together a bit of a gym, like a bit of throw together gym. So we welded up some chin up bars, and they spent a bit of money, and we've got some gym equipment in this old car parking lot. And we trained full time. We trained unbelievable. We trained more than we did as full timers. I think we just enjoyed the experience, and all
Hey, I
the
think
French guys who could get behind us did get behind us, and it was great.
it's good, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
I did play one game for the Canaries.
yeah, I do
I,
remember. Yeah, I was
I
aware of that.
finally got on. I only it was a long story, but I think I know exactly where that gym is. Is that quite near the water bit? Just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you
Yeah,
open it. I know exactly where. I've had plenty of good sessions down there, and like it wasn't much, but it was so fun just getting down there with the boys, especially
yeah.
the French boys. I loved it. It was awesome in Carcassonne. And then from there, mate, what happened there? Where'd you go?
Well, as I said, we had a good season with the Carcassonne Canaries, and mate, throughout my time playing rugby league in Australia, I did sport and exercise science at uni. Travelled around, and did all my subjects, and graduated that before I left. Always wanted to be a strength and conditioner. I think,
Yep.
growing up and on the way through, and yeah, so I got talking with Trent Robinson, was coaching the Catalan Dragons at the time, and Keegan Smith was his S&C guy there. He came over, saw our little throw together gym, and saw what we're doing. That
Yeah.
was Keegan. He loved it. We had a bit of a relationship, and we bounced ideas off each other and things like that. And then so the next season I went over there and I signed with the Catalans reserve grade side, which
Yep.
is the UTC Dragons, Saint Esteves.
And they stay.
So
They're in the Elite One. Is that the team? Yeah.
they're Elite
Yep.
One, yeah. And traditionally they were just a team full of the younger French guys coming
Okay.
through, playing against the men. And I think I was the first foreigner to sign there. Oh, in a handful of years anyway. And
Okay.
captain coach there with a good man called Stephen Deacon, an
Yes.
Englishman
Yes.
over there. Yeah,
Yeah.
legend that he is, Deeks. Yeah, I gave him a hand and captain coach, and had a good year. And yeah, I think we just got pipped in the grand final. But we had a good
Who was
season.
it? Who beat you?
Oh, mate, I think that year, I think Pia beat us. It was Pia or
Oh, was
Lesniak.
it?
My
Okay.
memory escapes me. I'm sorry. Yeah, but yeah, no.
Yeah,
So
that's
we
right.
just got beat before the first grade. Yeah, but no, that was good. Good young guys. Few guys got their start that year. Played a bit of first grade. Good to see that development. Loved doing the development stuff. The younger guys were there, so
And
had a hand in all that, and had a hand with first grade. Got to help out in the gym. In the conditioning sessions with first grade, which I thought was really good.
hey, perfect. And how
Yeah.
how was it there developing the juniors? What you were kind of really thinking of, trying to teach or bring them through fruition? You know what I mean? What were you? Did you have to teach them be a bit more professional, the way the French system was, or was it the basic skill they really needed? What do you really concentrate on?
I think athletically, the guys, really ripped in, and
Yep.
all of the younger guys still working when they're playing league in that level of
Okay.
league. But no, I thought they were really professional in what they did. And they really had a really good red hot go in the gym and things like that. I
Yep.
think the level of skills maybe not there in the juniors at the time. That was a long time
Okay.
ago
Yep.
now. But those guys really did have a crack, and just or doing going back to basics sort of thing. Trent Robinson, fantastic coach, and he took a really holistic approach to coaching a club. And I remember he sat on the bench for the reserve grade once, and did the radio for us, And I was upstairs I was upstairs on the walkie-talkie, and he was downstairs, and he's humble enough and committed enough and dedicated enough to do that for the reserve grade guys back then, So bit of a mark at the man as a man and a coach,
It's unreal, yeah. And then he's just got on from everything. But that's great what you're learning from, people like that. And mate, how was down there in Perth? Did you like it down there compared to Carcassonne?
Yeah, mate. We made some really good relationships in Carcassonne. We had the 2 years there, and they took us in like family there, the club and all the players there. They got some long-term players there, so that was great, mate, to be there. And Perpignan was really good. I was a busy man though too. Playing captain, coach, reserve grade, and moving out with the first grade. Yeah,
of course.
You're there from early morning to late night, sort of thing. Which I loved. As I said, that was a dream a little bit to be a strength and conditioner there for a little while, and saw all that. So right in amongst it and staying busy. And you're right near Canay too, aren't you? Which is Canay Plage isn't a bad place to be, is it?
Mate, beautiful, unbelievable. Yeah. Mate, and tell me, you went back to Oz, and I just want to have a bit of a chat about your coaching at St Mary's. How'd you get into that role? Were you always looking for like a coaching role, and how did it go?
Yeah, mate, I actually spent first season back. I went back and did a bit of uni. I did my master's in clinical rehabilitation exercise physiology. So I did that one. And whilst I did that, I actually went and helped out with the under-20s at the Roosters, because Trent Robinson was still there and still had that little connection. Yeah, so I did a bit of like assistant defence coach, S&C strength sort of stuff, and helped out with the 20s there, and then stuck my head in with the first graders whenever I could, sort of thing as well. So that was a really good experience and a really good year, and that sort of, I think that sort of gave me an idea of, this is the real deal. If you want to get stuck in strength and conditioning, this is what it's all about. The Roosters are a great club, and Trent Robinson, great coach, obviously. Had a season there whilst I was doing uni, and then went back and I still had the itch to play a little bit, so I went and played at St Mary's. For a bit of Ron Massey Cup. Brad Drew, actually.
Drewy,
back in the day. Penrith Junior from back in the day. Coached with him, and he coached the Ron Massey Cup side, and I helped coach the lower grade side and helped out with the conditioning and things like that at St Mary's, which is a really good club, huge junior club of the Penrith competition. They're that big they would nearly have their own team in the NRL one day, I think. But
I was thinking the same thing, and I wanted to ask you, like, how big is it down there these days? And like, if you're a player coming up in St Mary's, like 16, 15-year-old, I mean, how much do they dedicate their time going to St Mary's? Is it kind of like a professional club?
Mate, it's a really good club. Good facilities, good gym, good stadium, obviously, lots of junior fields, good coaching. Players go there. If you want to have a crack and be serious about your football, you go to St Mary's, I think, when you're at that age, when you're 15, 16. No, mate. So it's they're a good club, mate. They're for young guys coming through, right? Guys like Brian Toto, Jerome Law, guys like that, come through that club there.
And they've always done it, haven't they? They've got, who else isn't Big T a St Mary's boy? And
he played a bit of St Mary's, mate. Yeah,
there's a lot of them. There's a couple of other people I can't think now, but they've always been good at bringing people coming through anyway. But they've always had that big club, They had that really good support. 6 or 7 teams in each age group going through to about 13 to 14. It's just a powerhouse. So, mate, it's unbelievable, mate. Just a question: if you were like a 15, 16-year-old, what were you thinking if you wanted to become like a professional? What would you really be thinking? You know what I mean? Is it a holistic approach where you want to, improve your skills in rugby league, or do you concentrate on your strength and conditioning? What would you say is a bit of everything, or what's your kind of thing when a player comes up to you and says, "I want to go to this level"? Can you give me some advice?
Yeah, mate. I think to answer this question, I really think it holds true that if you just stay towards being a task-orientated athlete, you know what I mean? And so it's, as opposed to being an ego-orientated athlete. If you're worried about what you look like compared to someone else, you worry about you haven't got the self-confidence to back yourself against someone else, you worry about, I'm not going to try my best in this because I might get shown up here. I think that's where you come unstuck. As I said, I was only a young guy, like a skinny little back rower sort of thing. and playing in the Penrith competition against those huge guys. But I just stuck to the process. I think I've got to get better at this. I've got to get my footwork a bit better. I've got to work on this. I've got to work on that. And I think I took that all the way through with me, all through my rehab. I think my rehab was really good in that. Like, instead of being, worried about what I'm going to look like and worrying about, failing and worrying about, not making it, I just worry about the next task. Worry about what you got to do next. Got to wake up next and I've got to have a really good gym session in the morning. All right, well, let's do that, And then work to the next thing. All right, this afternoon's training, we're going to run, and we're going to run really hard. And I'm going to run as hard as I can. And if I come fifth, I come fifth. If I come fourth, well, that's where I'm at, and that's how hard I'm going to work. I think, through the junior coaching I've done throughout the years, I think that's the guys that usually come out on top. And it's not always. There's always going to be some guys with huge egos that are going to be the flashy geniuses. And freak athletes that are going to get through. But the guys who, head down, bum up, and worry about the absolute next job, and that's at training as well. So you can't cut corners on any aspect of being an athlete if that's what you want to be. You've got to give it your all in everything that you do, and trust the process that little bit. I think Scott Sattler, I've mentioned him a few times, but he took me under his wing a little bit when I was young, and I remember when I was playing reserve grade there at Penrith, and John Lang was the head coach, and he said to us, "You can do your weights in the morning, guys. You guys that aren't in the top squad, you can do your weights in the morning with the first graders if you'd like, and then you come back in the afternoon and do your afternoon training." And I remember thinking to myself, I might just come in the afternoon with everyone else and do that. Yeah. But Sats was like, "Mate, if you can get here in the morning," because I worked a 9 to 5 sort of job. He said, "You get here in the morning. He goes, you want to be a first grader, you act like a first grader right now." And this is when I was a 20-year-old kid, in 2001, just come playing 20s, So I had the opportunity to do that, and I trained alongside the first graders. That that's a unique opportunity that might not happen these days. But act like, if you want to be a first grade athlete, if you want to be a full-time athlete, try your best to act like one now, in the future. So if you can train before school, you do it. If you can train before work or uni or wherever you're going, try and do that, and act like a full-time, act like you're already there with the attitude that you're going to need, and try and develop that really early.
Yeah. Mate, perfectly said. Mate, thanks so much, Swain Dog. I really enjoyed that, mate. Good to hear you and some of those big stories you have. If we could have deep dived a bit more, I suppose we better not. But mate, thanks again for the chat. I'll have to get you on again because I want to pick your brain about different kind of training things and mate, thanks a lot.
Thank you, mate.
Mate, till next time.
Sorry, mate, jump in. All the best with the academy, mate. The academy's going strength to strength, it seems like, mate. So got a podcast going now, which is great, and get those guests on, and mate, it's invaluable to be able to share that knowledge, because you know a lot of people, and you've done some great things in your own career, mate. So you passing that on to the younger generation. That's an awesome thing to see, and I'm sure you're going to have great success.
Cheers, Swain Dog. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll speak soon. Thanks, everyone, and till next podcast, have a good one. Mate,
see you, mate.
Cheers for that. Wait there 2 seconds. I just pressed end recording. Mate, that was good.